it's just another bad day. Dark feelings are back, assaulting your heart with a panic attack. There ain't no shame in feeling depressed. You need to sit down and talk, son, get it off your chest. It's just another bad day.
Good morning and welcome back to episode 5, season 2, the ANDYSMANCLUB Man Chat podcast. Really excited today. I've got a good friend of mine on. Before we come over to introduce him, I'm going to introduce my co-host.
I'm Andy J. Thank you. Good to see you all.
And then we'll go over for an intro with my main man, Mark Whittle.
Hello, mate. How are you? Nice to see you again.
You too, mate. And I think it's going to be really good today because I met you when I came on your podcast, and you've just seemed to have gone from strength to strength to strength after my podcast. Joking. No, you just
point.
You've just gone up a level, and I loved hearing your vision about it all before. But there's a lot more of you that I've seen on your social that I didn't know when you did that podcast about your own self and your journey. Do you want to give people a quick intro about you, and then we'll delve into it?
Yeah, of course, mate. So I suppose I've always been an ambitious person from a young age and always aspired to do fun stuff. I don't know what it was. I'm sure you boys are the same, but I always had a feeling that I was going to do something good, meaningful. Sport was where I put a lot of my energy in as a kid as well. I played football from a young age and played at a high level, played at academy at Northampton and Leicester. Didn't get a pro contract, ended up going to uni in Leeds. So I had a good time there, mate. I love Leeds. And then got a scholarship to go and play football in America. Went over there, unreal, 2 years playing over there. Got injured, came back, and then got, long story short, got diagnosed with chronic fatigue. So that was my first experience of losing a bit of my identity, experiencing mental health, particularly anxiety, and then really feeling a sense of unfulfillment where I was, where essentially the sport had stopped. I needed to find somewhere else to channel my energy and my ambition, and that was in the city trying to make money. And it was just, I found myself feeling incredibly unfulfilled and sort of, experiencing mental health for the first time. And then I had a bit of an epiphany and a moment where I felt like I needed to do something more meaningful. And I built Take Flight, which is a peak performance movement mostly. Face value, it's all about how we can be better each day. What habits, routines, and philosophies can we live by to improve our lives and hopefully reach our potential. But then there's sort of an undertone to it as well about encouraging people to live a purposeful life and take that leap of faith. So the name Take Flight is all about taking that leap of faith towards the thing you love and that you want to do for the rest of your life.
Love that. I didn't know the stuff about the mental health when we caught up, and I guess a lot lately I've been looking at the stuff you've been doing and the stuff that seemed to be driving you. Stuff with Calm Zone and the strong,
not silent.
I'm not silent, and some. Looking into some of them, some great organisations, and I've seen a lot of collabs you're doing, and I thought, no one ever just gets into mental health or supports it if there's not something behind it. And, I want to get you on anyway because of your success stories, but I think it'd be great to delve into that in a sec. But what we like to do on the ANDYSMANCLUB podcast is show that normal guys just like us all go through struggles. And at the point when you're struggling, you're playing your dream in just before you struggle, you're going through your dream in America. And I saw you share some stuff recently, how good that looked. And that must have been an unbelievable experience out there. Where did you end up out there?
Where did I end up?
Yeah. Where was what state were you in?
I was in Ohio, mate, which is like Midwest, middle of nowhere, redneck country. But the most incredible experience. I've been lucky enough as a kid to travel and be taken to Florida, even California. But these are the kind of tourist destinations. They're unreal, and I always loved America, and that was one of the things that drove the vision and the goal of trying to get over there to play. But yeah, being in the Midwest was just a different level altogether. But yeah, playing with the team was built up of Europeans, South Americans, and it was the closest thing I ever got to being a professional, really. Although I played a better level over in the UK, playing with all these different nationalities all in the team and training every single day and traveling all around the States to play games was just unreal.
And then you come home and you get diagnosed with chronic fatigue. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so basically, one of the things that playing over in the States led to was me kind of living a life that wasn't me.
Yep.
It was, a lot of time in the gym, you know, exercise is my medicine, but it can be a negative thing for you as well. I was spending a lot of time in the gym wanting to get bigger, mostly for egotistical reasons. Training every single day, as I said, football wise, we're up at 6 a.m. training, and sometimes it'll be 2 a days. Our competitive games would be 2, sometimes 3 times a week, because in the US it's a real strange schedule. So you basically, you know, to set the scene, battering your body, and on top of that, I was going out at least twice a week and heavy, drinking a lot. And that's not, you know, I've always enjoyed a night out and a drink, but that was excessive for me. 2, sometimes 3 times a week, very heavy drinking. And long story short, I think my body just gave up. So I got home, I moved back, I had a knee injury, I did my MCL, my meniscus, and I tried to carry on as much as I could, but I changed as a player, so I didn't have the speed and stuff that I used to have. So I was just trying to keep it going as long as I could. Ended up moving back, got into a pretty good semi-professional team in London, Waltham Forest, that is, in East London. And I just started feeling really ill, flu-like symptoms, to the point where I was like sofa ridden. I just had to stay in it like weeks at a time, and then it would go away, and then I'd get it again, and I'd be like, fucking hell, what is this? I've never experienced anything like this before. All I was used to was going out, enjoying time with my mates, having fun, having a laugh, being that kind of life and soul at a party, always competitively wanting to win, having energy all the time, and it had just completely been stripped of me. So I had to quit playing football. Any energy that I did have, I was putting into the job that I was working in at the time, which is for Johnson & Johnson, big US corporate company in the city at the time. I was working in medical device sales. So any energy I had, I was just putting into that. Yeah. Because it was a field-based job, I could come home and have a sleep and a rest and then go back out to work, because it was that bad. 6 weeks at a time, I'd get really ill. Then I'd be all right. I'll be fine for like 2-3 weeks, and it'd be, oh, it's gone. Brilliant. It's just like, maybe I was just like a little virus or something. And then I'd get it again. So I was back and forth in with the doctors all the time, getting blood tests, and they could never really diagnose it. After about 18 months was when they finally said, you know what, you might have this chronic fatigue, which we're seeing more and more, which is kind of like adrenal fatigue, really, but you just burn yourself out. But there's like, this happened to me 6 years ago, and I still manage the symptoms today. It's pretty much gone. But for the first 3 years, it was horrendous, just on and off, not knowing what was bringing it on, really. And that's what led to me starting to feel anxious and worrying that this was my life now forever. And then that worry and anxiety turned into more chronic anxiety, thinking, fucking hell, my life that I knew and that I aspired to have in the future as well is not going to happen. So yeah, that was it, really, mate. That's where it all started.
And then you went and got the other job in the city then, didn't you? Because you've got a good job, haven't you? You know, a really good job, what most people would consider success. You know, the stuff you do now, you'll obviously find a lot more purposeful, won't you? But, you know, in terms of how people view things, big hitter in the city, sales, it is, isn't it? You know, and
yeah,
you know, behind that mask of doing that probably every day, picking phone up, high energy, you got some demons going on, haven't you?
Oh, big time, mate. You're in the snake pit in the city where it's, you know, people will stab you at the back. There's no real trust. And that's one of the things that as a person, I see in myself now anyway, like having a lack of trust with people, not fully being able to open up unless I really get to know someone and feel like I trust them and being able to give that back. So when you're in that working environment, it's like it pulls on your demons and insecurities. It triggers things in you that, you know, if you're not comfortable with it and you haven't addressed it enough, then some people live this like that life their whole lives, not really fully understanding and having the self-awareness to look at it. And that's mate, part of the message I'm trying to spread is have a better understanding of who you are. Yeah. Look at how it's making you behave. Fucking do what you love. Do what you actually want to do. Don't just end up basically filling someone else's pocket for your whole life, getting to the end and going, oh, fucking hell, I was a cog in a big wheel over here when I could have done the thing I actually cared about. When
did that self-awareness moment come for you then? How low had you got?
Mate,
just too much. I'm not allowing it anymore.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's hard because I think it's quite gradual, and because it's gradual, you get darker and darker, and you don't realise it. You don't realise that you're in that bad place. But I got to a position, mate, basically where I was used to being a certain type of person, you know, and a lot of that was from ego. That's how I identified myself. Good footballer. You know, goes in the gym, has a laugh, goes out, all that sort of stuff. And because I couldn't do that anymore with the chronic fatigue, there was one particular evening when I dragged myself out with friends and my missus and we were all big group of us were out. And in the past, I'd have been in my element, loving it. You know, it's really great like restaurant, bar, this kind of night that I would always look forward to. And I was just there miserable, thinking, I don't like any of this. I've got no energy. I feel shit. I'm not having fun. I'm not having the conversations with people. I'm not engaged with people. I'm not connecting with anyone. And I just remember that moment. It was pretty far into it, to be honest. I think it was probably, maybe that was a 3-year point.
Oh.
And my missus had spoken to me, or kind of approached the subject to me going to see a therapist, because she'd obviously seen it in me being a bit of a different character and having the mental health experiences like kind of taken over some of my other ways I would typically behave. And yeah, mate, eventually I took the leap and going to speak to someone, going to see someone. Yeah, I reckon it probably would. Maybe 2.5 years, maybe 2.5 years.
Wow. And what were first steps on that self-awareness journey? So we obviously at AMC, our big thing is getting people through the door to open up, to talk. Mine were just being honest with myself. You know, looking in the mirror and being honest that something wasn't right. You know, and we had a discussion last week about manning up, didn't we, Andy? About the term man up and how that's often, you know, it's how you perceive man up. You know, some people conceive it as or perceive it as a very negative term.
Yeah.
Because it might be that you're someone who's just got on with it, and then you keep trying to man up and you end up exploding. The way I look at it now is different people are going to take that different ways. You know, if someone's saying that to me, I probably wouldn't take it the same way as maybe another person would. I take that as, right, you know, they're saying there's something not right with me. I need to get my shit together. So my thing was I'd felt like I'd self-loathed for a long, long time. And at that point I had to get a grip. You know, at a point where I had to get a grip and take action. If I didn't take action, I'd continue to be rock bottom. So I think at some point there's a, you know, it can be for some people 3 years like yourself. Some people it can be a month where it goes, right, what's the action I'm going to take? Mine was finding the gym. You know, getting back to them habits, those routines. What we are, you know, you're defining.
My defining action.
Yeah, you know, that start. Obviously, you'll do stuff now that you know, that's way ahead of where you was then, but it might have been something.
Well, mate, I mean, reading was a big thing for me. You know, at school, I'd always been one of them lucky people who was pretty naturally intelligent. I didn't have to try too hard. I did all right, got away with it, and because I was good at sport as well, people kind of let me get away with it to a certain degree. But self-educating, leaving, I studied to master's level. Like, I mean, I didn't do anything for my master's. I was in America playing football, and I barely went to any of the classes. They practically handed it to me. But at some point when I was at that stage, I was like, if I don't do this myself, I'm not going to grow or develop any further. So reading was massive for me. And my brother gave me a book called The Obstacle is the Way. I've got it here on my shelf. This one. And this was the game changer. And it's a real easy book to read.
Yeah.
It's called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And it just like spoke to me about things that I already understood. It's split into 3 sections: perceive, action, and will. And you know, you just spoke about taking action there, and perception is everything, isn't it? So at that point, my life, my perception of the world has shifted from everything's great, I can do whatever I want, to I've got chronic fatigue now. All these dreams I had of you know, fading away. And that book just kicked me in the arse, really. And to speak what you spoke about, manning up, I think it depends who you are, really, because that was my call to man up, really. And I think if you've been in things like sport and you've heard that over and over again, you don't take it negatively. I think manning up is just taking responsibility.
100%. 100%. And that's what we got to last week at the bottom of it, where it's not about getting on with it and just, you know, pretending that the problem's not there. It's fucking dealing with the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've got to accept, and I think that's one of the biggest things, is someone who have been always very extroverted, very confident with themselves. For the first time in my life, I had to take a look in the mirror and go, you've actually got insecurities. You know, there are things that are weak in you, and that's not a bad thing. It's something, in fact, that's a good thing. That's something to address and look at ways that you can improve that. And that was the first time when you have to go, all right, fucking hell. You know, this is a hard thing for me to accept and admit, but this is the only way that I'm going to grow and benefit and become better.
Love that.
Luke, obviously we had that conversation on the podcast last week, but then we not only threw that out on our social media pages and sort of gained a little bit of public response, we also put it out to our facilitators, didn't we? And see the response that we got back from those boys, who obviously they've been on their own journey for the last few years, obviously coming through the doors of AMC and now being in a position where they lead AMCs. it was really good to get that difference of views and for guys to sort of turn around and say to each other, well, this is my perception of it, this is my perception of it. And some guys sort of laying it out on the line and sort of saying, well, actually, I am insecure about this side of thing or that side of thing. And it was just great to see guys man up together. Do you know what I mean? They supported each other and they sort of says, well, this is my opinion. Take from it what you want to take from it and what suits you.
It's like that phrase, man up. It's like similar. I was speaking with one of the things of my Take Flight, the business, is speaking with either athletes or entrepreneurs or military personnel or people who have done good things, so you can hear about how they've got there, because they've naturally had to overcome really difficult things. You know, talking about the obstacle is the way, like naturally had to come over like adversity, real difficult obstacles to get to their level of success. And if you look, like we spoke about failure, for example, I spoke with Foxy, who's the DS on SES, who dares wins, former Special Forces Sergeant. He was talking about failure. It's like, we don't look at it as failure. We look at it as a red flag of something that we perhaps haven't thought about before and how we can approach it the next time and be way, way better. But for some reason, when we say like, I failed, you get like a pang of sort of negativity through your body. You know, if you say I failed at X, you get a pang of negativity for some reason, just because the way that we view it. And I think it's the same with that man up phrase. It's like, if you have been, for example, like I was saying, in sporting environments, where people have said man up to you and you've seen that as an opportunity to take responsibility for a team or do something in the game or whatever it might be, then you can look at it in a positive way. But if you've been told to man up and you've seen that as a negative thing, maybe you've done something in your life and someone's been like, oh, for fuck's sake, mate, man up. But you feel insecure or vulnerable in that moment, you take that negatively. And then the next time someone tells you to man up, then you view it in a completely different way versus the one who saw it as a positive, and you can man up and take responsibility and help people.
I think in order to truly understand man up, you got to understand what being a man is. That's what I think you've summed up perfectly to me. Is it's about accountability, acceptance, accepting you've got something going wrong, being accountable to yourself, and then taking action, taking responsibility to move forward, because the opposite of man up is man down. And if you use the military sentences, man down means, you know, we're down a man, and you need to get back up. You know, as being part of a community of men, you need to get back your ass back up and in the game of life. And I think we've just created an unbelievable soundbite there.
Content is king.
It's all back then. It is, you know, man down, man up, innit? And I think too many people. We're living in a world now where everyone's trying to sugarcoat everything, you know, and protect everyone in a bubble wrap, which I think why more people continue to struggle, because we get wrapped up and we don't want to experience pain. Where I love David Goggins, mate. I've
got his book up here as well. I love it.
It's so intense at times for some people, but like, you know, I think he's good in doses. Like, you know, sometimes you need him in your ear. You need different voice. I think that's probably something we'll lead on nicely to, without even trying. Like, I think you need different people. So like listening to maybe just Foxy constantly, who might have an approach, might not work for you all the time. Listening to like Eric Thomas, who's constantly like, get up and go.
Yeah.
Let's go, fucker. Like, you know, be the lion, right? But then sometimes you need like a Les Brown. Or jokey and jovial and makes you feel good. And these are just some big names I'm picking, but like you need a David Goggins sometimes to say, what are you doing, you fat mess? And I do that sometimes when I've let myself go. This is David Goggins, who said, I was a fat mess. I looked at myself in the mirror and said, no longer are you going to be a fat mess, you fat mess. And I love that. Some people, though, need an arm around shoulder, like, you're trying, you know, and keep going. And that's fine. And I think you just got to find at the time what voices you want to be listening to. Leading on to voices, you've had some of the best. You talk about taking flight. You've had some people who've definitely taken flight. And where I want to do this is I want you just to reel off some people who you've had. And maybe I tell you what you can do. Name like 6 who've been your favourite. Like, give you like 6 key pieces of info. Because the reason why I'm doing it this way, which I'll come back to.
Okay, all right. It's so hard to say it, mate, because obviously, especially at the minute, I'm dropping a new episode every week, so it's hard, mate. You know, if you ask me in 2 months' time, I'd probably say completely different names.
Yeah.
But I'll give you some names just because they sound good, but then I'll give you like some actual things, that some of the stuff that I've remembered beyond anything else.
Yes.
So Foxy obviously was a good one. That was last week. He's just such a great guy. I've known him for a while and I've wanted him on the podcast for ages, so it was nice to finally have him on, and he just speaks so well and articulates his story. I think he's just very relatable.
Yeah.
You know, some people that I've had on are amazing, but not everyone's tuned into it necessarily, because they might not be that far down their path of realization or, you know, soul searching or whatever it is. But he's brilliant. I just had Wayne Bridge on as a former footballer myself. It was awesome, and he's such a nice guy. And it felt really. It was like when we did it, mate. It was very friendly. It just felt like mates immediately, and just got on really well. So that was a fun one. One of the big ones that people always refer back to is Ed Milet, who's one of the biggest self-help gurus globally at the minute. He's got an amazing podcast himself, and it was fun because it was the first time it was only episode 20. It was a few after yours, and the podcast hadn't been going on that long. And I flew to LA. I was really putting all of my energy into it, everything into it. I flew to LA to do the podcast with him. I drove down to Laguna Beach and sat in his mansion overlooking the beach. It was unbelievable. And just had one of those moments when, similar to, again, when me and you sat down, and you just really feel like you connect with someone. You feel elevated in the moment, and you go into that kind of flow state while you're having the conversation. So that was fun. I've had loads of athletes on who've done great stuff. You know, World Cup rugby players, Premier League winning footballers, World Championship boxers, Super Bowl winning NFL players. So loads of athletes, and I love sports. So that's been fun.
Andy's a big league fan, Andy. So you had Sean and Lachlan on, didn't you?
Yeah, Lockers is a family friend. Like, I've known him for a long time. So yeah, it was
a leader of men.
Just one of the most humble individuals I've ever met, and one of the most talented individuals I've ever met. Just for someone to be able to go that long at that level.
I remember watching him come off the bench for Great Britain when I was about 14 at Elland Road, I think it was. I went to watch him, and it's mad. So I'd not even started my career, and I've started. I'm finished, and he's still at the very top.
Yeah,
and he was skinny little number 14. He always came off benches like an hooker, and now he's like. Obviously, I played against him twice, and he absolutely banjoed me for the island. I mean, literally, when I was on replay, my mate Keith Senior kept taking videos off and sending me. He ended me. Proper highlight reel one for him, but it just seems like an unbelievable bloke.
He's an absolute legend. I can't speak highly enough of him. You know, every year he says he's going to go around again, and why not? While he's still got the legs, he's just unbelievably humble. He has that quality of just like, he's got an aura around him, you know. And if he was listening to this, he'd be cringing at it because he's that humble. But he's unreal. On that subject as well, I had Sean Wayne on, who's obviously now England, GB captain, manager, and did so much with Wigan when he managed them as well. His story is insane. You know, we're talking about mental health, the things that he experienced from a young age, you know, around physical abuse from his dad, having to run away and leave at a very young age. He literally ran away from his home with no top on, no nothing, and moved in with his girlfriend at the time when he was a teenager. Then made it as a professional at Wigan, had a great career, which he's still not satisfied with. He still talks about how he wished he'd done more as a player, and then obviously did so much as a coach as well. So he's another very humble person who you can just see, you know, when you look in someone's eyes and you can just see wisdom, and like you see the stuff that they've achieved and what they've been through. He was a very powerful man to sit with.
Well, I thought what's good about all them is I want to know more about them all and some more key takeaways. But I thought what we'd do is we'd lead in nicely for those listening, so they can have something to look forward to. I thought we'd run an Andy's Man Club, Andy.
Yep, as we always do.
Yeah,
looking forward to this bit.
Yeah, so obviously our little intro is obviously you can talk as much or as little as you feel comfortable to. Obviously the three things we don't talk about: politics, religion, and meds. Other than that, we'll crack on. So it's how's your week been? My week this week has been really positive. I spoke about it last night in our group actually, that last Sunday I had a bit of a sort of wobble and let myself get inside my own head a little bit too much. And, you know, I think it's an easy trap to fall into at the moment where overthinking can become you know, you've got time on your hands, you're stuck in this one place. I'm not stuck in this one place, but do you know what I mean? This is how you perceive it in those moments. And I looked back on it exactly a week afterwards, and the change in my mindset was completely, you know, yin to the yang. It couldn't have been more different. And there was a couple of key things in that. The, you know, bit of support that I got from, you know, people around me, obviously family, you know, yourself, Luke, had dropped me a couple of messages and things like that, which was grateful to receive. But I'd also made some positive changes myself. I spoke about it a lot last week, but I've been out on my bike an awful lot. Part of the ANDYSMANCLUB 84K a week challenge. when that came out, I sort of thought to myself, as one of our other facilitators, Gary from Peterborough, put in the chat this week, he thought, I'm going to have to build up to that. It's, I don't really feel as though I can achieve that now. When I got off my bike on Sunday, having done just under 90k for a week, I was like blown away with myself. That's such a positive feeling. And like I said, those changes that I've made, and I think I'd let my routine slip a little bit. I'm really keen to get back to a routine, not just for myself, but for my little boy and my missus is around me as well. I think it's we've got into the habit of, again, just the last couple of nights of going to bed too late, and then you want to lie in bed in the morning rather than go up and get out and get it. So that's something that we're going to look at doing. But on the whole, I've had a really positive week, and I've managed to turn it completely on its head. Like I said, mostly with actions that I've made for myself, but with support from others as well, and that's been amazing. So, Luke, how's your week been?
Probably the best of the whole lockdown. When we're doing this podcast, obviously, I talked about last week, I talked about the COVID coaster, how you can be up and down, because you don't know when the end's going to come. And being a fully pledged, all-in businessman with no guaranteed income, it's ups and downs. But it's really weird why it's been so good. It's been good because it hasn't been about me. For a number of years, I never wanted what came with AMC, but it did, and then I did the motivational speaking, and it's all great, right? I love AMC and what it all stands for. But my missus lost a brother in the process, and because I was so busy driving AMC, probably forgot that she'd lost a brother, right? And I just felt like what I was doing were not replacing, but were the good thing for her, and it never really been the thing for her. She's got her own business, and over this last week, I've just started listening more to her, rather than flipping around and going, well, ANDYSMANCLUB's doing this, I'm doing this. Actually, actually listening and genuinely taking interest and putting a lot of effort into her business with her, and I'm seeing the change in her. And why I'm so happy is that old saying, happy wife, happy life. And, I don't bullshit on these. We've had a rough time over these last couple of years. Rough time, up and down. And I don't remember a time in the last 2 years where we've been as good as we have been these last couple of weeks, especially this last week. She's physically in gym every day at home, twice a day. And it's not, she don't go when Luke's finished doing what he's doing and she gets to squeeze an hour in. Like this morning before we came here, do you want to go? Are you going to? Do you mind if I get up? I get up, got her up early. She went gym. I waited a little bit. Came a bit later. And just putting someone else first. The person who's meant to care most to you, the one who's the mother of your kids. And I just see the change in her, which is give a change in me. Got a new energy about me, and it's just been nice. And that might seem a little bit mad for some people, because I still don't know when I'm going to go back to work, if at all this year. I've got lots of exciting things going on, but I'm reducing the balls I'm giving away. So I talk about, I don't know if I talked about the podcast. I had this little analogy one day, I probably heard it somewhere like we all do. If you wake up every morning with 10 balls, 10 ping pong balls, and you give them away, right? So it might be 2 to your kids, 2 to your missus, no pun intended, 2 to your work, 2 to yourself, and 2 to podcast or another side venture. That's 20% effort into each thing. What I started doing is I initially started this journey where it'd be like 40% would be self-development. We'll be listening to podcasts, we'll be reading books, we'll be getting up early, doing my journaling, doing my routine, getting myself to the best version of me. The 60% then would be spread out accordingly. Where what's happened over last year is I've got those 10 balls, split them in half, and just fucked them off basically to everyone else. Not give myself anything, not give the people close to me anything, and took way too much on. So I think what's really nice is now is I've got a lot of those balls back. A lot of them are going back into me, and the more I put into myself, as selfish as it may sound, the better version I am. So the quality of those 10% to become when I'm with my kids, when I'm with my missus, when I'm with whoever I'm with, and that energy that was once infectious being around me, it feels like I'm getting that back. So yeah, that's a big one, and I think last year definitely just gave away too many balls. So I'm feeling energized. How about you, Mark?
Amazing, mate. Do you mind if I just break it? Can I comment on what you said?
Yeah, of course.
Just, mate, it's so amazing to hear, man. I mean, obviously we catch up regularly. I haven't spoken for a few months now, but we used to catch up much more frequently, and obviously we spoke openly about the stuff we were going through, and it's amazing to hear that, mate. And I was similar to yourself, where I haven't spoken about this too openly either, actually, where me and my wife really struggled first year of marriage. So this is 2 years ago. what we on 8? We've gone past, with 2-year anniversary last month. And it was just it was difficult, mate. I went to couples therapy, we did all this, and ultimately what it came down to was my own ability to listen and ask the right questions. I was going through, I was in crisis mode because of another thing that cropped up in my life where I'm still getting comfortable with talking about that more openly, but it had led to me behaving in all sorts of different ways. And I was in a similar boat to you, mate, with my relationship. So it's amazing to hear that from you. And I'm in the same place where I couldn't be happier now. And my missus is pregnant. We've got a daughter coming in July. Yeah. So, yeah, mate, just so happy. But I mean,
changes your life. That I know sons do as well, and but as a man, as a man, it's weird. And I don't know about you, Mark, but before I had a kid, it was always like you can't wait to have a son, right? Like when you're having a kid, it's just like I'm having a son, right? You don't even want to notice it because you know it's going to be a boy, right?
Yeah.
then you have a girl, right? And part of you is disappointed at first, right? You're not going to like it is like, as much as your missus is buzzing because they want a little mini. Then there's a part of you that people don't like speaking about dad stuff properly, right? It's hard because you're like, well, I don't really want a girl, right? Can I not swap it, right? But then when they come, best thing ever, man.
I'll tell you what, I was the same with you. Yeah, I always thought I'm having a little version of me. I'm having a son, a little version of me. I'll take him to football and all that. But the moment we were in that room and they said she's a girl, my heart just exploded, man. I was just like, I cannot fucking wait. And it's exactly what I need. It's exactly what I need. And I don't want to put too much pressure on her to be that thing for me. But like, I just in that moment we were in there, and it was a weird emotion. I was just so happy. I was so happy, and I've carried that on. But yeah, sorry, boys. To talk about how I'm feeling this week, I'll keep it a little bit short.
No, don't.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's been a weird one this week. I've been riding really high for the last 3-4 weeks. I did some really enjoyable campaigns with Calm, the mental health charity, their suicide prevention charity. Did some episodes with them. Did some Instagram lives, raising some money. We raised enough money to have the equivalent of 125 lives saved so far. So they have a phone line which helps people who are struggling at the time. So it's the equivalent to 125 lives changed. And that's one of the proudest moments I've felt this year when I heard that. But then off the back of that, the podcast's been really good, going up in the charts and stuff and getting bigger and bigger guests on and all this stuff. And yesterday I had the worst fucking dip for ages. And it's interesting we're talking today about it, because if you'd have asked me yesterday, I'd have been like, oh, I'm in such a good place. But literally yesterday for about 3 hours, I just went into a bit of like a massive hole, similarly to you, Andy, about self-doubt, really. And I just, for one reason or another, I just went into this place of like, why am I doing this? Is it ever going to work? I'm stupid to think that this is going to work and it's going to play out how I imagine and all these things, which is, I've been doing meditation. I do it every morning anyway, but I've been tacking on 10 minutes of visualization every single morning. It's actually the first morning I missed it today because I was late doing my exercise. So I'm going to do it after this, but visualizing the way I see things going, visualizing the impact and all that sort of stuff and feeling it. And it's really helped. But yesterday, I don't know, I had a wobble. I think because I did my Instagram live with Foxy last night, which I tend to do after the episodes go out now and speak with them, so people who have listened can ask a few questions. And maybe there was a bit of nerves about going live with him. I've done one with him before, but I knew that it was going to get a big audience and it's harder to do it live. But I don't know, I like that because I felt a bit nervous, and I like feeling nervous because it means that I'm doing something that's going to help me get better. But yeah, there was just a big attack of self-doubt and, why do you think you can do this, really? So I had to sit with it and took the dog out, to be honest. That was the thing that settled me down and grounded me a little bit. And yeah, basically today's been a very slow morning, being a bit kinder to myself, not rushing into anything. I had all these things I needed to do this morning before our chat, and I just let them go, and I'll do them later today because I just kind of wanted to. I slowly got up, did some exercise, and yeah, I'm just having my morning coffee now, as you can see. So yeah, no, I started to feel better today, but yeah, yesterday was a funny one.
Well, two things on that. First one is don't feel bad about that self-doubt. I get that, mate, all the time. Like 1 minute, this is where the COVID coaster really comes. Like, most people have it in different senses. Mine all comes to literally what you said about that self-belief versus self-doubt. And sometimes I'm like, what are you on about? Like, you built your speaking business before. You be sound. Let's go again. Let's go. Come on. Rip in, and you have a big surge through you of energy. And then it's like, well, actually, I can't really do all right now. You know, and actually, are people going to want me after this? You know, what's the future going to hold? It's all those what if questions. But then it's like you've got to go back to what's the vision, you know, and you'll have those moments of up and down. But the ones who get out of them are the ones who do nip out for a walk with dog, clear the red, start the next day. Because you started the morning slow, but at least you've started. People would go, well, you know what, I'm not even going to start today. But the funny side of everything you said is that you said that this is your morning coffee at 11:12, right? You're about to have a daughter, right? Your morning will be classed as an afternoon coffee. Right? My first coffee came today about 5 to 6. I was sleeping today, right? Because she's up today between 5:30 and you know what? From 4:45 today, she got up 2 or 3 times. So just all I will say to you being a new dad is when you don't be kind to yourself, appreciate sleep more than ever. Because a lot of the self-help gurus say you've got to live on 4 hours sleep. You've got to go get it. I want to know what their sleeping pattern is. Right? Because everyone I see saying it usually don't have kids who are telling you, get 4 hours sleep. Try having 4 hours sleep while your daughter's up every hour. Now, that's an interesting way to live.
Mate, so, I'll tell you, it's probably one of my biggest fears at the minute, right? Because a lot of what I talk about on the podcast is habits, routines. How can we build this structure around our day, our week, our month, our year to allow us to perform at our best? Like, I drink my coffee at 11:30 because I know that my body should naturally produce energy in the morning, and by forcing caffeine in me, which is artificial energy, you know, I'm stopping that to a certain degree. So I try and allow my body to do that by itself. And then I'll have a coffee to give me a little bit of a boost after 10:11. So all of these things are like really structured, thought out. I like to know where I stand. And, you know, I like to do my meditation at the same time every day and all these things. And I'm just thinking, fucking hell, that's all going out the window.
Yeah. It's you know what it is? It's simple things. Like you have your head round, you know, I'm going running at 6:30, for example. This is what I'm going to run at 6:30. And then you got your head round, I'm going running no matter what, right? That's it. I'm up, I'm you know, no excuse. So I even say it's 5:30. And then at 5 o'clock, explosive nappy comes, right? And you miss something up all night. And at this point, you question, right? Between, do I go out and do my run because I know it's good for me, or do I take 10 minutes off for my missus? Or do I take a day off for my missus? And that's where the hard bit comes. Taking that time off for her or going out and running for you. And that's where probably my relationship, I fucked up a lot because it was always like, I'm going running. Like we were last night, I'm going running. And you then, what's also I'd be a parent is you always look at what you do and maybe not always what they do. Like try staying at home for a week with kids. I used to think, oh, shit, I'm working away all week and it's rock hard. You're having kids, it's fun. And then you're kids for a week and you realise, get me back to work. This is proper work. So I don't hijack that.
Personal perspective as well, I found obviously for the first few days, obviously brand new father when Ben were born, we were almost dictated to by Ben because, you know, he's the baby and it's, you know, what you do. He really started to flourish and we found it an awful lot easier when we built him into something of a routine and, you know, like a bedtime and all those sort of different things and a nap time, stuff like that. So while your structure and your routine might change, there's still space for those structures and routines to happen. Just to touch obviously on both of your takeouts from question 1 as well, I think it was massively powerful that because outwardly looking in, the two of you guys are obviously massively outgoing people, positive people, you know, and you spread that. For you guys to turn around and say to people that actually, do you know what, this has happened to me as well, is huge. And that's a massive part of AMC and the sort of things that we do. And, you know, for you guys to lay your insecurities, I suppose, on the line and talk so openly about them was huge. So cheers for that, gents. Question number 2, AMC, always, every single week is one positive from your week. I've touched on this quite a few times in the podcast, but I can't ever get away from it in that I've been facilitating the newbies group on a Monday night. Obviously, at this moment in time, we've got all of our groups online and we've got a specific group just for new guys to make it easier for them. So obviously, they're not going into an established group and it's a bit more daunting for them. So they come into a group that's just new guys. Everybody's in the same boat. And there's myself, Alex, our trustee from Scotland, and we always get another facilitator from around the country in there as well. So they've got a little bit of, you know, somebody who knows the ropes. Every single week, it blows me away just to see these guys that have never been part of an AMC. They've, you know, last night there were guys in there that were saying, I've never spoken openly about my things. And to see the support that I've got in here has absolutely floored me. It's, you know, I feel so amazing. There was guys in there that were sort of saying after question 1, do you know what? I already feel this has had an effect on me. I already feel so much more positive than when I logged in, and I was, obviously nervous and daunted and things like that. But that group for me sets my week up, and it's not necessarily about me. Obviously, I use the group as much as anybody else does, and I spoke last week about the blips I'd had and things like that. But just to see the positivity flow through those other guys, and it's the first ever night, and they're so enthused by coming in there and joining in, and it almost clicks for them within the first 5 minutes of, yeah, do you know what? There is somebody listening. Yeah, do you know what? I can talk here. I do feel safe and comfortable, and we've said it so many times. Positivity breeds positivity, and I just love it. It's the best part of my week at this moment in time. Like I say, it's amazing. So, Luke, one positive from your week, mate, please.
Yeah, I've already mentioned about my missus and how things are going there and how I'm feeling personally. But one thing that would be outweighed by that is last week we had the ending of the ANDYSMANCLUB It's Okay to Run challenge, 300k challenge over 2 months, 5k a day. But my dad got involved with it at back end of week. My dad's 56, but he always likes to say 60. And then he always likes to say, I'm 30, but I'm closer to 20. He likes to put a 40-year age gap, but he's proper competitive. Right, I can see where I get my competitiveness from. And it's been unbelievable once he got into that challenge, him ringing me, us having that banter. And anyway, when the bike challenge came out, he's like, I'm on it. And he don't really get involved too much with ANDYSMANCLUB. He just not his thing. He never has, right? He supports it and backs it. But, and he'd come to events, but he's never going to be doing all around it, right? But he's got involved with this bike challenge. He went and bought himself a new bike. He's bought all gear. And for anyone who don't know, ANDYSMANCLUB was started for the tragedy of my brother-in-law. Take the Andy off that. The Man Club was started by myself, my dad, my best friend Brett, a rugby player called Keith Senior, and my brother Steve-O. And we used to meet every Saturday morning, long before ANDYSMANCLUB, long before Andy died, in a greasy spoon on a Saturday morning, underneath where I used to have a gym, and we'd just bitch and put the worlds to right. It was just a thing that we had every week, no matter what. Saturday morning, Man Club, we used to call it. Even when my daughter was born, wanted to come, it was Man Club. Little Alfie could come, it was just Man Club, it was just our thing. Mm-hmm. And what's been really nice is like Brett's got involved with Bike Challenge, I'm involved with Bike Challenge, my dad's involved with Bike Challenge. So we've got the original Man Club together, and tonight my brother's out as well, and he's wanting to lose some weight, and he's out, and I've even just had another text of someone else who wants to come, because we've got this beautiful canal here in Halifax, a great stretch. And do you know what? It's the banter as we're riding. We're having banter. We're keeping socially distant, 2 metre, of course, but we're having banter. And as we're riding, we're having a laugh, and then we'll take it piss out of my old man because something had gone wrong with his bike. Or it's just, we'll take him on a big hill and he'll be climbing it. And other day, he thought it was Lance Armstrong jumping out at saddle because we told him it was last hill, and he fucking flew past us and then absolutely died. Like literally, we're gone. And you know, it's just that camaraderie. It's just got getting a group of guys together, whether it is inside talking or whether it's not, and it's just out together like a pack, and we're just out there enjoying it with no ulterior motives other than to get from one place to another and back, and get fit and just enjoy that space. So I can just tell, I even felt it just changed, my energy changed talking about it. I'm buzzing for it tonight. Got all the stuff in van ready to go, and I'm pumped just to get straight out there and with them boys. So probably a bit of a weirder positive than usual, something very simple. Just gone on a bike ride with your dad, but I found over this last decade that the small things like that are actually the big things.
Love that. Yeah, biking's been a big part of my week, and I'm getting out around about the same time tonight, I think, so looking forward to that. Mark, positive from your week, buddy, please.
I think I'm going to draw on both of your examples there. Mine wasn't a bike ride with my mates, but it was just a phone call last night. And it was the thing that got me out of my slump. And it was, I just finished the live with Foxy, and I was actually in a better mood. I'm always buzzing after those anyway. But yeah, my oldest mate, my oldest best friend, and just invited me to a game of golf. But I won't go into the details of the conversation, but ended up just giving each other a bit of banter and having a bit of a pop at each other, and it just cheered me up. And I think you've got to find the thing that does that for you. Again, being from like a sporting background, that sort of stuff just pulls me out of the moment again. It just makes you think that the thing you're worrying about isn't that important. And then just on what you were talking about, Andrew, there about speaking up, my experience of doing it is just changed me completely with the way that I feel around. We were talking about earlier about self-awareness and all these other things. There's an element of my story that I haven't spoken about, which I'm still, as I said at the beginning, getting more comfortable speaking about it. But I went on this retreat last year, and just for the first time in a group, opened up about it, and 80% of the room put their hand up and said, yeah, you know, me too. And I just remember sitting there thinking, fucking hell, this story, this thing I've created in my mind for my whole life pretty much, that I thought was so important, that was unique to me, and that was this big bad thing about me and all these things. Loads of other people have had it as well. And doing that, and then doing it again and doing it again, and just getting more comfortable with who you are, and accepting, ultimately, you're surrendering, whatever terminology you prefer, but like accepting that that's part of you has just changed everything over the last couple of years for me. So, you know, I love what you guys are doing, and I think the more that people can get into your sessions and be more comfortable with who they are, and be more comfortable speaking up in front of people that you don't even know, which is a difficult thing to do. It's being courageous, isn't it, and brave. And again, it's taking that leap of faith in a slightly different way, because I'll talk about it a lot in career and stuff.
Manning up.
Yeah, manning up. Yeah, that's it. And the feeling of strength and fulfillment that you get from doing it, and it being generally well received, and you being accepted for who you are, is just so powerful.
Definitely. Yeah, I think I spoke about it last week as well, that the thing I've found more with talking is that the more you do it, the more you articulate these things, the more things start to straighten out in your own head. You've got to think about them to articulate them, and then the more you think about them, the straighter they sort of become. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to think straight about these things, because you're having to give them mind space to articulate them, and it works itself out in your own head as well. So,
do you know?
That's it, mate.
On that there, Mark, you said something that just made me think of probably why I've enjoyed going out on them bike rides so much. I think when I played rugby, all people did was chat shit, right? Yeah. Like, you just chat shit. There were never any deep and meaningful conversations. And they were the type of ones that I felt that's where I were at in my life. And they were like, I'm over this usual rugby banter bullshit, right? Everyone just speaking like it just to fit in, right? Some people don't even do that shit on a weekend, but they like to make it up just so they can fit in. So when I left rugby, a lot of my conversation became deep and meaningful. So you got ANDYSMANCLUB, it's always deep and meaningful. You know, yourself, like, we would talk about stuff. And I love them type of conversations. But then there's also a place just to chat shit, right? And I think 100%. Having the contrast of being able to, like, me, like, if people actually listen to the way I speak to my dad when on the bike ride, they're like, how's his dad not, like, twatted him, right? How's his dad not give him a slap, right? But he'd be doing the same to me. Like, you know, we'll be having a constant, like, just bullshit, swearing at each other, just call it, like, and we genuinely are not doing it from a place of anywhere. Like, he'll do something silly, and we'll just call each other out, and like, it's completely and utterly bullshit. Like, it doesn't mean anything, and it's like, that's why it's so funny. Or like, you know, yesterday morning I went out on a bike ride really early because I know I'm competitive. So I text him, he says, I'm in bed, and he always tells me how early he gets up, because he does. And he had like an extra 10 minutes in bed, and I like sent him a picture of his front window and thought, just know I'm out getting it, and then drove. He was devastated all day that I'd done that. He was furious. And
you got to remember, haven't you, like, as much as we love this and we're deep thinkers and we want to talk about things that are meaningful and help other people, and that's amazing, and it makes us feel better, helps us to grow, and it helps other people, and, you know, the contribution is everything. You've still got to have fun. This whole, you called life a game, you refer to it as a game, and I loved that earlier. You've still got to have fun. That's what it's all about. Like, what we're doing here, if we're only going to talk about deep and meaningful stuff, you know, you've got to have that balance with it, haven't you?
I made a joke, and I hope it doesn't come across as offensive to me. My dad keeps saying, like, jokingly, like, I'm 60, you know, I'm not as fast as you on this bike. And he's 56 and he's fit as a fiddle, right? So it's an excuse, and he keeps bringing it. I said to him last, I said, listen, don't bring that negative shit to me again, right? When you get in this van, I don't want any negative shit. And last night, he did. He said something like, he got in the car and he made a joke. Oh, we're not climbing any hill. I said, listen, I told you, don't bring that negative shit to me. If you need that, go get some help, right? That ain't what we're doing on these bike rides. So I think I actually said, you can go to ANDYSMANCLUB if you need, right? And it wasn't like abusing, where it's just like banter, you know, where someone else, I might have to have these type of deep conversations all the time, where like, how are you feeling? What's going on in your life? You know, and they're nice, and I love doing that shit for people and helping people. But sometimes it is also nice just to get on the surface and just have banter and have a piss take.
That's your ability as a coach or as a motivator, is to be able to adapt and change the way you communicate with people, because some people take it in one way and some in others, don't they?
100%.
Just to bring that back around as well to an AMC sort of vibe as well, that I've never sat in an AMC and not had tears rolling down my face from laughter. I think people think because we're in that room and we're talking about, you know, And we do get deep, and we do get guys that have, you know, made attempts on their life in the previous week and stuff like that. But every single week there's something to laugh about, and every single week there's joy and laughter and stuff in those rooms. And it, you know, that's key to, like you said, life. 100%. So moving on to question 3. Then question number 3 is there anything you've got to get off your chest? As I said, I sort of spoke about mine, the little funk that I got myself into and managed to get myself out. So I'm in a good position just at this moment in time. Pass it over to yourself, Luke. Anything you need to get off your chest?
No, I used it quite a bit in the last few podcasts, which I never normally would. The only thing for me is I am not gonna take on as much. Something I always do. I think you can end up becoming jack of all trades, can't you, rather than master of one. And where I'd built up in speaking and where I'd got a good reputation, tried diversifying too much, taking on a coffee shop. You know, everything just became, I was just taking on, and energy wise. And I think I need to, because I have an itch constantly with an entrepreneur mindset. I've been out looking at properties for the last 2 days about, oh, maybe I should do that, and you know, and maybe I should do that. And for me, it's about, and this is where my offload is it's learning to be able to rein myself in. Because I'm an impulsive guy. Most entrepreneurs are impulsive. They make, you know, they shoot from the hip, you know, and as much as they will calculate the risks, they do make gut feeling decisions, as I always have. And my gut at the minute is just constantly saying, on my brain saying, gut, just come back a bit. Let's just have some time. Let's just rebuild everything else and then go. So that'll be mine, just the ability to continue to rein myself in for a little bit. And then when I do let myself go, I'll be ready and raring.
Nice one. Cheers, Luke. Anything from yourself, Matt?
Yeah, just a quick one for me, mate. I think it's just to stop putting so much pressure on myself. Similar to Luke, you know, always on. You know, if I'm not, I'm obsessive with it, and I know that I'm obsessive with growth. I'm obsessed with the business, and I think about it all the time. I'm pretty sure I think about it when I'm asleep. It's literally always on my mind. But yeah, just to ultimately going back to that, like surrendering, letting it happen. It's going to happen when it happens. I know it is. You know, the hard work's being put in. So stop putting pressure on myself and willing it to happen, you know, sooner than it needs to. So yeah.
Brilliant. Nice one. Cheers for that then, gents. So look, question 1, 2, and 3 every single week in Andy's Man Club stay the same. Guys then know the format. They know that, you know, they've got an opportunity to talk about positives, things like that, and an opportunity to vent too. Question 4 and 5 change every single week. And last night's question 4 was one person in your life who inspires you and why. I'm in a pretty fortunate position that I'm surrounded by people who inspire me every single day. We said last night that facilitators that we're surrounded by, you know, the journeys they've been on, walking through the doors of AMC, getting to a position where, you know, they're now helping others and things like that. It's phenomenal to see. And every single guy that walks through the doors of an AMC in some way or another, wanting to make that positive change to life inspires me. But the one person, and it comes back to something that we talked about in the last question as well, about that sort of making sure you concentrate on a bit of fun. But the one person is my 6-year-old son. The way that he looks at life, and obviously any hurdle that he sees upcoming, it's only a hurdle, you know, I'll overcome that, and then I'm back to playing with my Lego. And I'm, you know, he just looks at everything in life with fun through his eyes, and it's inspiring to see. And that sort of energy can't help but rub off on you. And like I say, it's absolutely inspirational, and there's something I take from him every single day. So yeah, that's the single person that inspires me most. But like I say, I'm in the fortunate position where I'm absolutely surrounded by them. Who, you know, different ways and things like that people have that effect on me. Luke, what about yourself? Person in life?
Yeah, I think this type of question is good because it'll change all the time, week on week, day on day. Right now, the person that stands out is my missus. You know, seeing her coming out of that garage this morning, dripping with sweat because she's got a goal in mind of what she wants to achieve, and her level of complete discipline and consistency has drove me to now get the My Fitness app. You know, and she's inspiring me. So she's on with it now. She's cooking dinner up. She's weighing it all. She's doing it all properly. And she's just, yeah, I find that so inspiring. And do you know what? Like, even at a deeper level, like her ability to cope with the big shit, you know, like the small shit she struggles with. And I'm not going to, you know, she does struggle with that. But the way that she deals with the big shit, you know, is unbelievable. Like losing a brother and then going and getting a first in a degree when a dissertation was doing, setting up a business after nearly dying with Ada, and thriving with that, becoming like the best, you know, business at what she does in this area, if not far beyond. You know, the time before nearly dying with my first daughter, Aubrey, which had a massive asthma attack, and the way that she came out of that and started a uni degree, and just the way that she always continues to move forward, and it does inspire me. You know, it really does inspire me.
Amazing. Mark, about yourself, one person that inspires you and why, please?
Yeah, similar, mate. You know, I could write a list of over 100 people and speak at length about all of them. You know, I'll probably just lean on my brother for this one. I think, you know, brotherly love and brotherly relationships are an interesting one, and we've always been very competitive. And I don't think I often credit him enough for how we've pushed each other on to be better throughout our entire lives in everything from sport, education, business, everything. He's rode the Atlantic. He's climbed El Capitan. He did a world first in triathlon in Patagonia. He's basically got a business with his mate who, you know, they're adventurers now, and they go and speak in big corporates. They go to Nike, Google, speak at all these great places. And yeah, it spurs me on every time he's doing something, and I hope I do the same for him. So yeah, I'll go with my brother.
Was that your brother who, when you did the video of him hanging off the side of the cliff?
Yeah.
Is that your brother? That?
Yeah.
That were to land it about that challenge. That was, I didn't know, your brother. That's frightening.
So you've seen Free Solo?
I haven't, no.
But you know the concept.
Talk us through it, because there'll be loads of people out there that won't have done.
Okay, Free Solo is worth watching for anyone out there. It was the El Capitan is like the rock that any professional climber aspires to climb at some stage in their life. It's a rock that you climb for typically 3 to 4 days, and you have to sleep on a vertical rock face. It's in Yosemite in California. And Free Solo popularized this whole thing. And it's a guy called, what's his name, the climber? Can't remember off the top of my head, but he's one of the best in the world. He did it without ropes, and that's why it was insane. The world woke up to this phenomenon of free climbing and all this stuff. Anyway, it's one of the toughest challenges that you'll do with ropes. So the reason I talk about Free Solo is because people now became aware of this mountain that people were climbing, and you know they've worked their whole lives to climb. My brother and his mate Tommy, together they called the Tempest 2. They decided to do it with a year of training. And yeah, last year in October, I flew out I did a few podcasts while I was there as well. I made the most of my time there. But I flew out to meet them, went on my own and watched them finish on day 3, middle of the night, got to the top of El Capitan at midnight. And give me goosebumps talking about it now, but it's one of the most inspiring things. I was stood at the bottom, I could see up the top, and I could just see their head torch. They're climbing in complete darkness, just their head torch flashing along the top as they're finishing it off. And yeah, you know, I've not even spoke about rowing at the Atlantic. You know, they took them 54 days to row the Atlantic. They do unreal stuff, and I just think that when people are setting the bar that high, naturally when you're around that, then it pushes you. And you know, maybe I wouldn't have started the podcast, or if I did, I wouldn't have aspired to get it to where it is now without seeing him do those sorts of things. And hopefully, with me taking it to that level, he will then think about his next challenge. And it's just it's a relationship I'm very grateful to have, and you know, he's my best mate. So
quality, man.
Unreal. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at that. I'll get on Google, YouTube as soon as we've done, and have a little look out for that.
Yeah.
Question number 5 then. Forgive me, I'll just remind myself of it. It's a quick fire one, but it's one positive thing that you've learned about yourself during lockdown. Mine would be that I'm more resilient than I gave myself credit for. I think at the start of it, I was sort of going, oh man, you know, I can't wait for this to be over, and you know, I want just normality, and you know, but the longer it's gone on, sort of gone, actually I'm doing all right here. I'm you know, like I said, I'm more resilient than I gave myself credit for, I think. So that's one thing I've learned about myself during lockdown on a quick fire. Luke?
My gut is to say something that's going to come across as it's a negative about myself, but I don't think it is. I actually think it's a positive that I've identified during lockdown, that I am not unbreakable. And what I mean by that is like when you do what I do, what Mark does, and you try to, I'm not saying you don't either, Andy, but what about this self-growing you into the books and the podcasts, and you're reading, and you can believe the hype too much sometimes. I hope I don't come across bad, where you believe that you can actually literally whatever you set your mind to do, which is great. But when you're doing that in too many things, you might not be the best version of yourself. So like, I'll give you the breakdown. I want to get the camper van, do Lisa's shop. I want to do my coffee shop while still launching the journals, while still running the business, while still trying to chair ANDYSMANCLUB. And on the surface, I did them all. Every single thing got done, right? Did they all get done to the level I'd have wanted to be at, you know, and give my full true self? No. So that's my biggest lesson during lockdown, is that actually, in order to be the best version of yourself, you've got to be able to give the quality. I can't even say the word. And you've got to give your best quality to it rather than quantity. And I think sometimes I can take too much on and it won't affect me. Where, you know, by judging it from the people around me, they could see the effects it would have. So in mind. So I'd say that's definitely positive. And I think the way I'd put that down is I think my biggest strength is my ability to self-reflect. To have a difficult conversation with someone, go away, or even myself, and think, you know, was that right? You know, are you doing the right things? I'd say that's my only biggest strength that I've got.
No, that's massive. Cheers for that. Mark?
Mine might sound a little bit contradictory to what Lee just said there, but just that I have the ability to control my thoughts. You know, I've got the power to build and develop my mindset. I burned out at the beginning of this year, balancing Take Flight and working a full-time job in the city, continuing to train. I moved house, did all these things at the same time, and I burned out really badly. I was ill for 3-4 weeks. And with that, I couldn't even look at my phone. I couldn't have any blue light. I didn't barely watch TV. I was just on the sofa sleeping, essentially 15, 16 hours a day. And with that, I lost my habit and my routine of digesting positive content, reading, exercising, and all these things that have made me who I am today. And over the last 6 weeks in lockdown, I've had the opportunity, because, you know, we're all stuck at home, to get back into that rhythm of reading books, the ones that lift me up, getting in the gym, working out, and just doing the right things again. I think as soon as you stop doing it, you mentioned at the beginning, Andy, about losing routine. As soon as you lose that, then you do change the person. And I just reminded myself, you know, through lockdown, you have the ability to control your thoughts, and you do that really through having the right routine.
Love that.
I think that when you said contradict, I think it's bang on. I think it's the same, because what happened was when I took all that stuff on, I stopped getting up at the time I would. I stopped doing everything that I normally would to be my best version, because then that hour that you might get up, you need to try and catch that sleep up, because you're up till stupid o'clock digging out or knocking down walls in a clinic or planning your next project, or try to send emails at ridiculous times so you can keep on top. So then that's where I meant, so controlling your thoughts wise, like if I'd have asked myself at that time, if I looked myself in the mirror, I'd have said I was the best I've been. I think I even put videos on saying, like, I get my hands dirty, I was shoveling shit up at 1 in the morning one day, and just saying, like, you know, don't ever think that I always look in life. It's all hard graft, where, you know, get away from all that and then look at it in a bigger picture, helicopter view, but all going on. As much as I felt I was controlling it, probably like yourself, that was my way of burning, like, you know, the beginning of lockdown, probably my way of burning out. But because we've had this time, came at a good time for me to do that, to be able to just get them routines straight back in place.
I remember speaking to a mentor not long ago. Actually, it was a little while ago, and he was saying, I know you think about time here, Andy, so I'll be quick.
No, we don't.
All right. So I sat down with him, and the podcast was probably maybe a year and a bit in, and I had all these ideas. I'm going to build an app, and I'm going to have a goal setting aspect to it, and it's going to ping out these inspiring quotes, and then it's going to make them do these coaching sessions that are all action oriented, all this stuff. I'm going to think about a book. I'm going to do all these things. He was like, Mark, what is working at the minute? I was like, oh, my events are working and the podcast is working. He's like, put everything into them. I was like, oh, yeah, all right. And do you know what as well, Luke? It's funny that you're saying that, because most episodes that I've done, there has been one nugget that I've held on to and I've remembered since then, and I've had it in my life, and it's a perfect reminder. And the one from ours was exactly what you've just said. You know, you gave the example of like digging one hole or digging I can't remember what the analogy was.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and it was that's that one.
Really well, or you can dig 12 holes, all shit.
Yeah, and really shallow shit holes that aren't going anywhere, or you fucking dig one properly. And that's the message. I mean, there was a few from our one, to be fair, but that's one of the ones that stuck with me. So yeah,
appreciate that.
So that's an Andy's Man Club then, pretty much. You know, same there as it is every single Monday night. So cheers for that. Should we come on to yourself, Luke, and we'll finish off with our 3, 2, 1?
Yeah, 3, 2, 1. You have to remind me about us 3, 2, 1. Before we jump into 3, 2, 1, in fact, we'll use a 3, 2, 1 for what we're doing with Mark. I think we're going to change it a little bit though for Mark, because Mark will have some great. In fact, no. Before we go to 3, 2, 1. So we spoke about your guests and what you're planning to do with your podcast. What's next steps?
Next steps, mate.
What's next?
So I need to, I'm in the transitional period here now where I'm going to move from a full-time job to my passion project. So there's 2 transitions there, really. So you move from a full-time career that you're making good, relatively good money in, to being self-employed. But also, and that's a difficult shift in itself, but also you're shifting your passion project, which you love, from a passion project into a business. So I'm having to be very strategic with the way that I look at it now. The bit that I love naturally is having the conversations and speaking to people week in, week out. But, sadly, that doesn't make money just sitting there and good conversations. So I've got to think now about how I structure the business part of Take Flight. So I'm going to break this podcast into seasons, give myself opportunities to collaborate with brands and see the value in what I'm doing. As soon as we can, I'm going to get back into the events. That's my favorite bit, I want to be, my vision is to have 1,000 people in the room at these Take Flight events. So it's, again, trying to have the patience to do that is a different thing altogether, but that's the goal. And then I'm also launching kind of like a new podcast to complement the long form interviews. So obviously we have these great guests on who come and tell their stories, and I love them to bits. And I love hearing the feedback and the things that people take from them. But I often worry how long that inspiration stays with people after the episode. So there's a new action orientated podcast that I'm going to do. So in the moment, people will be either doing a guided meditation, doing a breath work, or doing a coaching session as they listen. So it's kind of giving listeners that extra push to do it now. The whole thing is encouraging people to take flight, take that leap of faith. So if I can do that with a conversation, is great. But if not, then people can listen to this. I'm going to call it peak performance practices, and they can listen in the moment and do it while they're listening. And I hope that has an impact. So yeah, that's the immediate future, mate.
We started our podcast into seasons, didn't we, Luke? But only because we've forgotten what episode.
Yeah, not quite as professional and strategic as Mark, but we were like, shit, what episode we're on? Season 2. And
can you guys edit? Have I got time to go for a wee quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll edit.
Cool. I'll be quick.
I need one as well.
Can we not?
So sorry, guys.
And then we know where we're coming back in.
Sorry, guys. We're all back from us piss. You got to go. Clearly all in sync there. We are in flow state today because we're all needing toilet at the same time. We're going to finish today with our 3, 2, 1. The first one is 3 things that Mark Whittle recommends for positive mental health.
Oh, mate. First one, easy, meditation. It's your ability, or it builds on your ability to be able to view your thoughts as thoughts and not you. It's one of the most important things that I do, if not maybe the most important thing that I do. So meditation, there's so many different forms you could do. There's Headspace app if you've never meditated before, and about a million other great meditation apps. I personally practice transcendental meditation. I went on a 3-day course. It's like a couple of half days. They give you a mantra, teach you how to do it. So I'll do 20 minutes in the morning. So that's the first one. Exercise is the second one. It's my medicine. But then also being, again, talking about self-awareness, how much exercise. I see people doing all these like high intensity interval training sessions, and as much as they're great and help with, can you hear my dog in the background there? Yeah. As much as they're great, and I think they push people, and you can build a tough mindset by getting through those sessions, I really encourage people to think more long term than that. Like, don't overdo it. Don't overdo today what's going to stop you exercising tomorrow, basically. If I feel like I'm overdoing it or getting particularly tired in the session, I'll dial it back, and it's not an ego thing anymore. I think a lot of people as well, they get in the gym. I'm fortunate enough in my new house to have some kit here for myself. But when you go into a gym and people are looking at one another, comparing themselves, looking in the mirror, it's just such a negative environment for health and wellness. So just be comfortable with yourself. Don't care if you're lifting smaller or heavier than anyone else. It's not about them. Just think about yourself and how it's going to benefit you long term. And then I think the third one is what we're all here to do, which is connection. So, I mentioned about speaking with my mate the other day and how that lifted me up. Luke, you've spoken about your relationship with your missus, and similarly with myself. Every single day, try and connect with someone. I used to try and either ring my mum in the morning or text her, or just have that little bit of connection there, just to say that I'm thinking about her. But just speaking with people that you care about, I think at the end of the day, that's what we're all here for. And I'm lucky enough to have a podcast that allows me to do that with people more often than not. And I'm lucky for that. But yeah, I think that's what we're here for. And try and do it every day in a conscious way as well, not just talking to people and being in a habit or a routine of just doing it automatically. Like, think about who you're speaking with. Again, Luke, you talked about listening. So yeah, just being present when you're doing it.
Love them. 2 pieces of advice for anyone listening. 2 quality pieces of advice that you've had.
Oh, on top of them 3. 2 pieces of advice. Perception is everything. It's how we view the world, and you're never going to understand how someone's looking at the world versus you, but you can shape your perception. You can view things positively or negatively. So I like the analogy of a sports game. I use football as it was my sport, but you've got 2 sets of fans there viewing the same game. One team wins, one set of fans has the best experience that day. The other set of fans has a negative experience that day. It's purely because of the way they've viewed the game. Obviously, there's emotions attached to the team that you support, but we can do that day to day in every experience that we have. You get a shitty email from someone, your boss or someone that you don't like. You can view that as a negative experience. You can view that as someone who's out to get you, or you can view it as someone who might be having a bad day themselves, or might be up against something themselves. And maybe it's an opportunity for you to say, is everything all right? Or maybe it's an opportunity for you just to take a breather and use it as a challenge yourself to cope with things that trigger you in a particular way. So, perceive the world in ways that are going to make you enjoy what's happening in your life day to day. And it's a constant challenge. It's something you've got to remind yourself to do every single day. But yeah, perception is everything. Second piece of advice I would say that immediately follows perception is action. So procrastinating is something that we all suffer with, myself included. I spoke today about I've had a bit of a slow start, but I'm being kind to myself today. But the more we procrastinate, the harder that thing that we're trying to do becomes. So even if it's the smallest little thing, just do it. There's an author called Stephen Pressfield, who just says 2 crappy pages a day. He's an author, so he's obviously speaking specifically to writing books, but essentially what he's saying is just do something. Even if it's shit, just do it. Get up and do a little bit, and the momentum will carry you on. You'll probably end up writing a lot more, but just doing that one thing will empower you to do more and make you feel better about yourself, instills confidence and self-belief and everything else, and it all snowballs from there. So, yeah.
And one thing that made you really smile recently, and why? Genuinely smile.
It's going to be that phone call last night, but I probably shouldn't say what he said. But it really made me laugh, and it took me out of the moment about worrying about building a business and commercializing things and talking to people in an impactful way, and it just completely eroded all of this worry and this panic and this negativity that I'd had building up through the day. And something that it put things in perspective, basically.
So that wraps it up for today. What I'm going to do is we're going to finish on our usual way, which is we check out by saying it's okay to talk.
It's okay to talk.
It's okay to talk.
Perfect, lads. Thank you very much.
Bad day, dark feelings are back, assaulting your heart with a panic attack. There ain't no shame in feeling depressed. You need to sit down and talk, son. Get it off your chest. It's just another bad day, dark feelings are back, assaulting your heart with a panic attack. There ain't no shame in feeling depressed. You need to sit down and talk, son. Get it off your chest.